this is going to be one of 3 screening points. Now, for the public, they only go through one, this one. Employees from 7 until 8 in the morning will go through a couple of other points that they have access to through different doors. However, those doors secure down promptly at 8, and then anybody coming in after that has to come through this entry and exit. The emergency exits are still going to be in effect, but people cannot just leave out through the east doors unless it's an emergency. And they can't go through any of the other doors unless it's an emergency as well. And so one of the doors over here basically it's law enforcement access only. And so law enforcement parking is going to switch. Where you see squads parked now, all of that's going to change as of tomorrow. And the east lot is going to be law enforcement parking only. There will be no public parking over there at all. All the public parking is going to be on this side in this lot or in the ramp if there's no space here. And then they'll just walk across the street. The screen point, this is what we call our soft opening to kind of introduce this to the public and to employees to gradually work it in over time. They're going to start seeing more activity. They're going to start seeing more deputies. They're going to see the equipment. This corner office here that used to be the information booth is now belongs to the sheriff's office, and that's where our part-time deputies are going to be working out of. And then we have yet another second floor office for myself and the 2 full-time deputies that work with me. So there's been some changes. These are magnetometers or walk-through metal detectors. This is the X-ray. Any packages coming in or boxes or anything of that nature will go through the X-ray. Then everybody will come through one of the magnetometers. During peak times, we'll have both of these open, and when things kind of slow down a little bit, we'll close the outside one and then have everybody come through this one. If you have something to go through the X-ray itself, you'll come through this one, and then we have a second monitor. And people ask us why we have 2 monitors. What you see here is what the deputy who is operating the X-ray sees. And so that way we have a couple sets of eyes on the monitor. And if, let's say, you have something in your bag, you're coming through, and we have questions about it, we can stop you, we can turn you around, point to it, and you can tell us what that is. Basically, our entire setup, our procedures, all of this stuff is based on what the U.S. Marshals do for the federal courthouses. That's our kind of our baseline is what the Marshals do. We basically copy it, tweak it a little bit for our environment, but essentially everything comes off of what the U.S. Marshals do. And then as time goes on, we're going to have additional cameras coming in and being placed. We have a fair amount of cameras now. They're in fact hooking up some cameras today. That's why these panels are off. And then the whole area, this whole center section especially, will have additional cameras in addition to all the rest of the cameras that we have throughout the courthouse complex. So that's the basic real rundown. The X-ray itself was given to us by the U.S. Marshal Service. Every so often they have to get brand new equipment, and so they're mandated whether or not the unit that they currently have is in prime condition or not, they have to get new equipment. And so they donated that unit to us, and so we went over to Bay City, Michigan to pick it up from their bankruptcy court, and it's about a $48,000 piece of equipment that they gave us.
Wow. So you didn't have to pay for it at all?
No.
It was a donation.
This stuff, everything else we did.
Right, but the actual...
But for the X-ray itself, that was given to us by the Marshal Service.
Okay. What is the process going to be for county board?
They go through screening.
So county board meeting,
Everybody
7 p.m. Everybody goes through this
screening.
interest, or you're going to have officers screening.
When the courthouse is open, then there'll be 2 deputies minimum here on the front doors. More if it's warranted, if we have like a really big event or something like that, but a minimum of 2 deputies on the door when the courthouse is open.
At all times
At
that
all
the courthouse would be open. Okay.
At all times. However, there are going to be some meetings. What they're trying to do is really restrict the different types of meetings that are held here. And so some of these are being shifted off-site to different facilities, and so that they only keep the courthouse open for what absolutely has to occur here. And so you're going to have the regularly scheduled events, such as the county board meetings that occur at night, and all of that. It'll be kept open for that.
What are these lockers going to be used for?
That is for individuals who come in. We have, especially with probation and parole clients who come in to report to their probation officers. A lot of them get around on skateboards, and they have like backpacks with a lot of their belongings in. And so we're not going to allow that into the courthouse. However, when they come through, we'll have them lock up their those particular items in those lockers. But we only have 6. So the sheet that I gave you basically is some helpful hints in what we're telling people for the average person who's coming into the courthouse is that don't bring in anything that you don't absolutely have to bring into the courthouse. Pretend that you're going flying. Most people, if you've flown, especially recently, is that you don't want to take anything more through that TSA checkpoint than you absolutely have to, because it's going to slow things up. The same would apply to us. If you don't have to have it, don't bring it in, because it's just going to slow things up.
Do you worry about getting lines stretching out the door on busy court days?
That can be a concern, but again, and I have that in that briefing sheet as well, is that we're telling people that allow yourself enough time to get to your appointment within the courthouse. Because standing in line saying, if you get here 5 minutes before your scheduled court appearance or whatever your appointment is not an excuse to jump to the head of the line. They're going to have you have to wait, because there are other people who are going to be ahead of them. So you have to leave, or arrive here with, I'm in that guide there, I suggested 20 to 30 minutes early if you want to be on the safe side. Now, is that going to be every day? No, but on the day that you pick to be running late is probably the day, Murphy's Law is in effect, where there's a major event that you weren't aware about, and there is a big crowd out here that has to get in. So, do we run into that real frequently? No. I mean, there's steady traffic that comes in and out of the courthouse, but here's a briefing sheet for you here. Thank you. We do have a steady flow, but like I said, it comes and goes depending upon the day. Some days the court calendar is very light, and there's not there isn't a ton of traffic, or it's just it's steady, but a few people at a time, and we don't have a big bunch of people. But we would anticipate between 7 and 8, or not 7 and 8, I'm sorry, I misspoke. Between 8 and 9 is going to be probably in the morning the bulk of people coming into the courthouse, and then probably between 12 noon and 1 o'clock for people, especially courthouse employees or anybody conducting business all day here, leaving and going to lunch and then coming back. And so you just have to plan around that.
This may not be a question that you were involved in. I'm not sure, but have you heard anything? Any requests from any other counties or any other
Yes.
entities about how you're doing this and how they could incorporate something like that into their own space?
Right. We're getting more and more inquiries as time goes along, because in this area of the state, we're the first to try and implement full security measures in what we call an atypical courthouse. The courthouse, as it's designed right now, and added onto and remodeled, the original, the older section, which is on the south side of the complex, that was constructed in the 1950s with absolutely no thought to security whatsoever. Then it was added onto, again, absolutely no thought to security. And no modern courthouse would ever be constructed like this, ever. It's just, from the security standpoint, it was, it's probably one of the worst situations we have to deal with. So in order to, and then it's been added on to a number of times and all of that. So in order to accomplish this, we've had to go through some extraordinary measures and a lot of planning in order to get us to this point. Now, if you were to frequent, let's say, or go down to the courthouse in Madison, Dane County Courthouse, that was constructed in 2007. And so they have a modern courthouse with all the different modern security features. They don't have to take prisoners through the hallways. They have holding cells outside, connected to the courtrooms. And so you don't see prisoners being brought in and out. Their parking is in designated areas. You know, they have controlled access on the entrances and the exits. And so it was designed with security in mind. This never was. And so as you can see, there's, and will continue to be a lot of moving parts to this. A lot of different people are working extraordinary hours, and a lot of thought and planning is going into this to make it, you know, to get it to where we need it to be. So we're making do with what we have.